been struggling with social anxiety for my entire life, and I've never really found a solution for it. But recently I found a way to explain my anxiety, and because of that, I actually stumbled across a tip that has drastically reduced the amount of social anxiety that I feel. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I've completely gotten rid of my social anxiety and that this solution is the one and only solution for anyone watching this video. Neither of those things would be true. What I will say is that this solution has worked for me specifically, and it's helped drastically reduce my social anxiety. At the very least, I'm hoping to make this video because I want you to just better understand how your anxiety works so that in the future, you're more open to a potential solution for it. Anyways, let's dive right in. All right, let's put this up on the wall. Duct tape. I really hope this doesn't rip the paint off the wall. That would suck. All right, I hope this is okay. We're talking about social anxiety. Okay, so what I've learned about anxiety in general is that it's actually just one big feedback loop. It just starts one place and then it just keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. And it actually consists of 4 main things, okay? So the first thing is actually, let me write it down. The first thing is our beliefs about ourselves, okay? This belief right here, this is the core of your anxiety, or at least it is for me. This is the core of my anxiety. And this belief for me is that I am boring / uninteresting. This is my core belief. Not a great one to have, something I'm gonna have to work through, but unfortunately, I truly do believe that I am a boring and uninteresting individual, okay? That is my belief that I have about myself. Now, I'm not sure what your core belief that you have about yourself is. I can't tell you. This is something you're gonna have to do some digging and some journaling and figure out yourself. But just understand that your anxiety most likely starts because you have some belief about yourself that is probably not true. Okay, cool. So now, because of this belief, obviously anxiety exists in our head, but social anxiety exists in the real world. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna get out of our head with our belief and we're actually to get into the real world. So it's gonna take us over here, okay? And we are going to the next step, which is no longer about our beliefs about ourselves. Instead, it is about our actions towards others. So essentially what ends up happening is that our beliefs about ourselves end up influencing our actions towards other people. So in my case, my belief is that I am boring and uninteresting. And the way that that makes me act to other people is that it makes me, I am boring and uninteresting. That is my belief. And as a result, I avoid drawing attention to myself. And so what that means is that I will refrain from starting a conversation or sharing some information about myself or opening up about some sort of interest that I have, because my fear is that people won't find me engaging. Like in my mind, by not engaging in conversation with people, by avoiding drawing attention to myself, I am saving other people from my inherent boringness and uninterestingness. And so where we get to, we go from our beliefs about ourselves, our actions towards others, and these then start to influence others' beliefs about us, okay? So the way that we act towards others influences what others think about us or what we assume others think about us. So because I don't start conversations or share things I'm interested in or kind of just generally am a bit refrained, people might assume that that means that I am disinterested in them. And so without the context of my entire brain, people are probably going to assume based on my actions that, oh, you know, I'm not that interested, or I don't have that much to say, or I kind of just don't want to talk to them in general. And so people now might start thinking a couple things. They probably start thinking, they might think that, oh, I'm uncomfortable, or they might think I'm boring, or I don't like them. These are all the thoughts that people could have in their heads about me based on my actions over here, which all stemmed from this initial belief. Now, regardless of what exactly they're thinking, as long as it's something around this sort of line of thinking, they're uncomfortable, maybe he doesn't like me, maybe I'm boring, whatever it is, people are going to think the same thing, which is going to lead them to act in a certain way, which leads us to our next step, which is other people's actions towards us. So other people's beliefs about us then have them act a certain way towards us. And so based on the thoughts or the beliefs that they have about us, it's going to make them less inclined to want to continue the conversation with me, or even next time when they see me the next time, not want to start a conversation with me because, well, they believe these things about me. And so people will avoid conversations with me, people will not give me attention, whatever it might be. These are going to be the actions that they're going to do based on the beliefs that they think about me. And this is the craziest thing about this loop here, is that because they are now avoiding conversations with me, or they're not giving me attention, or whatever it is, they're not reciprocating much in conversation, I now think that I am boring and uninteresting because they are acting this way. And what that means is that my initial thought about being boring and uninteresting is actually now reinforced by their actions. And their actions are a result of this initial belief. It is literally the most vicious negative feedback loop in the entire world. The fact that you have a belief up here and it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think I'm boring and uninteresting, and as a result, I become boring and uninteresting through this negative feedback loop right here. And if there's any people who don't deal with social anxiety here, they don't realize how vicious this is. But for me, I've been dealing with social anxiety for my whole life. And so when you go through this loop, literally thousands of times over 10 years of your life or whatever, this thought becomes very, very real. Like, I am boring and uninteresting. People think, why don't you just not think that? Well, it's hard because it's been reinforced thousands of times in my life. It's super hard to explain how this feels and why it's so hard to break out of it. Like, anyone looking at this that doesn't feel this way could just say, don't think this way about yourself, or, you know, don't act a certain way towards other people, or don't assume other people's thoughts, or don't assume other people's behaviors mean something about you. But when you're stuck in this feedback loop for years, it's very hard to realize that and to actually break free from it. And so I know I probably sound like a total crazy person explaining this to you. I promise you I'm not. This is very, very real to me, and I hope anyone in the comments who resonates with this feedback loop can defend me. But it's real, I promise. And so let's talk now about the tip that I learned that helped me break out of this feedback loop. You guys want to know a little industry secret? The part you just watched, it was actually filmed yesterday. So it's now 8 in the morning of the next day, and I had to re-clothe myself in the same clothing so that there was some continuity. But now I'm telling you about it, so it doesn't really matter. But little YouTube inside look for all of you guys watching. Okay, so this tip actually comes from Russell Brand, who apparently struggled with social anxiety, which is kind of a surprise to me because he's literally the most charismatic man probably to be alive right now. So I guess, you know, goes to show you never know. But what Russell has helped me realize is that social anxiety is actually kind of selfish. Like I just discussed, I worry a lot about whether or not people think I'm boring or uninteresting. And when I'm talking to people, this is the only thing that consumes my mind. I would always be thinking, did I come across as funny? Do they like me? Did I say the right thing? And as a result, I never really talk to people. I'm kind of just using them to get approval to make sure that I feel good about myself. I was trying to make people like me, and I was trying to prove to them that I'm not boring. But by trying to prove that to them, that puts a lot of pressure on me, and that pressure is the reason that I act in those avoiding type of behaviors, which ultimately end up reinforcing the belief that I am boring and I am uninteresting. But Russell Brand said something that really struck a chord in me. It really impacted the way that I saw my social anxiety. And he said, "You've got nothing to prove. You've got nothing to prove to anyone else." I can't tell you how much of a relief it was to hear him say that. You know, my entire life, I have felt like I need to prove something to everyone I met. I need to prove to you that I am not boring and I'm not uninteresting. I swear, I'm gonna prove it to you, don't worry. But when I heard this, I was able to just let go of the idea that I need to get other people's approval. like I can just be, I can just exist, you know? I could just be a fucking human being for once. And this is crazy. It's taken me like 25 years to realize that I could just be a human and just exist, and that's enough. And honestly, I don't really know where this belief that I am boring and uninteresting comes from in the first place. To be honest with you, it probably ties into this whole wanting to be a YouTuber thing. I'm constantly trying to prove to all of you that I'm not boring and uninteresting, and this is a good outlet for me to do it, I guess. But once I heard Russell say this, it was a huge burden lifted off my chest. Like I felt light again. I realized that I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I can just be Devin. This is good enough. And that might seem like a selfish thing. Like if I focus on just being me and I have nothing to prove, it doesn't mean that I don't have to think about other people. Actually, what it means is that I can stop focusing on myself and just place my attention on external things, other people, and the environments that I'm in. And you really can't have social anxiety when you're focused on external things, because all social anxiety is inward focus all the time on yourself, hyper analyzing everything you're saying, doing, and thinking. So when you place all of your focus externally on other people or whatever it might be, you get rid of all that. And if you struggle with social anxiety, give this a shot. Really just try to internalize that you do not have anything to prove to anyone. You can just be whoever you are, and that is enough. That's plenty. This has tremendously helped me. I hope it helps you. Let me know if it does. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.